In this video, we'll be covering some of the easiest mounts to obtain, which did not appear in the first two versions of this video. And at number 10, we have the Grand Ice Mammoths. These are two mammoths you can buy from a quartermaster in Storm Peaks for 800 and 8,000 gold respectively, taking into account the reputation bonuses. During Wrath of the Lich King, when these were available, that was kind of a high price for the mounts. But nowadays, that's almost trivial. You can easily make enough gold to buy both of these in a week of normal playing, unless you're just absolutely terrible at making gold. And the Reigns of the Grand Ice Mammoth is one of the few mounts in the game that allows other players to ride on top of it alongside you. So it's kind of worth getting. Now all you have to do is just grind out the Sons of Hodir rep to Exalted, which used to be kind of a pain in the butt. It wasn't the hardest thing to do in the world, but it did kind of take a while even if you took the shortcuts of farming out a special item that you could turn in for more rep. When they introduced the time walking system, they did make grinding it out a lot faster as well, since you could just convert the time walking currency into badges that increase your rep. However, recently they made a change to time walking weeks, where now during time walking weeks for the associated expansion, you get a 50% rep buff that applies to all quest and monster kills with reputations of that expansion, which definitely includes the Sons of Hodir. So during time walking week, you can both turn in time walking currency to buy the reputation tokens and grind out the rep normally with a 50% buff, which makes it almost trivial to do as long as you wait for that specific time walking week now. However, you do still need to unlock the reputation and the quartermaster, which requires you to start the quest chain in K3 and takes you through half the zone with a whole bunch of quests centered around Thorum and his relationship with the Frost Giants. Although if you get some of the rep early through turning in badges, it will be applied to the reputation as soon as you unlock the rep, so that you don't have to worry about wasting it in case you forgot to unlock the reputation first before turning in badges. And at number 9, we have one of the easiest mounts to get in the game, which was added towards the end of Battle for Azeroth. And that of course is the Mail Muncher. This is a mount which is obtainable from Horrific Visions by clicking on a special mailbox located in all 5 of the zones. The mailboxes always are in obvious locations, and it's always the same mailbox in each zone. So you can just memorize the 5 mailboxes you have to click on in both versions and just try every time you go there for your normal runs. Or specifically, just click on the mailboxes if you don't care about completing the visions normally. I'll have locations of all the mailboxes on screen, but there's also add-ons you can install which will point them out to you, like handy notes. The Mail Muncher has a pretty generous drop chance, but it's not guaranteed, so you could get it after a couple of attempts, or it could take you about 100. The act of obtaining this mount as being easy is kind of a meme in the WoW community, but even if it is a meme, it's still not that difficult to obtain. You just have to defeat a mini-boss after clicking on the mailbox and you get the mount as a drop. You don't need to finish the vision normally after you get the drop, and once you actually click on the mailbox which contains the Mail Muncher, you just defeat a version of the Mail Muncher that drops the item for you, which will be available for you immediately. One of the few items you can pick up in the vision, during the vision, without having to wait for the boxes at the end of the vision. And at number 8, we have the Smoldering Ember Wyrm. This mount can be obtained with a 20% chance as long as you complete the mythic version of Legion Karazhan in a special way. You see, there's a couple of crystals that spawn in the dungeon, and after you click on the first one after the Opera battle, you'll have about a 10-minute buff which will allow you to click on the second one, which is located in a room right before the boss meeting of Virtue. Then you just need to run over to Morose and click on the one that's very obviously right behind him. Afterwards, you'll have to head downstairs to the spider room and click on the one at the end of a corridor that's not actually near a boss. So you have to deliberately try to click in all these crystals so you can't get them out doing the place normally. Although after clicking on this crystal, they'll give you a little teleport which will save you some time and let you go back upstairs. Every time you click on a crystal, it resets the duration and even increases the amount of time you have in order to complete getting the last crystal, which simply requires you to kill the Curator boss. After you kill the Curator, it'll drop the crystal on his body, which could be hard to miss since it kind of spawns inside his body, or can depending on how he falls, and it could take you a while to get back to the crystal if you accidentally run into the portal after killing him. Then you click on the 5th crystal and you'll gain a buff which allows you to see a ghost version of Medivh in the Master's Terrace, which will then spawn a mini event that allows you to fight the boss Nightbane. Simply killing Nightbane will drop them out 20% of the time as long as you don't already have it. And this drop chance is increased for the amount of people in your group who are eligible to loot the boss during that week. So if you have 5 people in your group who haven't killed Nightbane yet, then you'll have a 100% chance to drop 1 mount. Although even if you do this solo, which is pretty easy as long as your item level is higher than 450, then a 20% drop chance is still very good, as far as collecting mounts goes, and you can try this once per week on each character. And at number 7, we have the Shadowbarb Drone. This is a mount which was added to the game in patch 8.3 and can be obtained by simply doing 30 days of dailies. All you need to do is make sure you have the assault zones unlocked, which require doing the quest chain that grants the legendary cloak. In order to start the quest chain for this mount, all you have to do is go to Oldham during any invasion at the spot located on screen. Then all you need to do is interact with it to start the quest, which will send you to a Dreadnought Explorer NPC who will then convince you to try to raise it. Over the course of the next 30 days, you'll slowly grow it by feeding it stuff and taking it out in the world in order to do some pet battles and normal battles. At the end of the quest chain, you'll eventually be able to earn the mount, as well as getting a toy and a battle pet along the way. Now, if you're not very well versed in pet battling, then you might run into some problems when you get to the pet battle sections. Although all of the pet battles you have to complete are done in invasion zones, which have pets that scale down to whatever max level pet you have in your party. So if you want to have an easier time, just never level up your Shadowbarb pet, and keep it at level 1. And then just use 2 other level 1 pets with it so that the battles you're doing are scaled down to level 1, which makes it almost trivial. If you do level up your Shadowbarb Drone, you can kind of cheese most legendary pet fights with a haunt pet like the Unborn Valk, and a Black Claw Stampede user, like the Zandalari Raptors or Inky. Also, be careful on the portion of the quest which requires you to take a drone out in battle when you're doing the invasions, because if you're in war mode during that quest, it is possible for the enemy faction to kill your drone, and that will just end the daily for that day. And then after 30 days, you'll get your guaranteed mount. And at number 6, we have the Snapdragon Kelpstalker. This is a mount which can be obtained by getting one of your Nazjatar followers to level 20. For Horde, it's specifically Nary Sharpfin, and for Alliance, it's Hunter Arcana. As soon as you get that particular follower to rank 20, they'll offer you a very short quest which basically just gives you the mount. Now, in order to get them to level 20, you first need to unlock them by doing the short quest chain which introduces you to the Zone of Nazjatar. You unlock the ability to choose one of those 3 followers every day very early on in the Zone quest chain, and you simply pick the one associated to this mount for each day. They will have a series of 3 daily quests you can accomplish for them, and after completing all 3 of them, you'll advance 1 rank automatically. So if you do all of their dailies for 20 days in a row, then you'll get them to rank 20 no problem. There are ways to speed this up a little bit if you find special items for them, but for the most part you don't really need to worry about that, but it is technically possible to speed it up a tiny bit, although I don't think you can get them to rank 20 in one day even then. Because you see, there's a series of items that can drop around Nazjatar which give a various amount of extra rep to your bodyguards. Some of them only give rep specifically to one of them, like the Fathom Ray Wing, which gives extra rep to Nary and Arcana, but there's also a couple that work on all your bodyguards, like the Unusually Wise Hermit Crab, or ones that give reputation to all 3 of them at once, like the Ancient Reefwalker Bark. So if you go out and farm those ones, you can get them to rank 20 in less than 20 days. Although even without it, you do still get it a little bit faster than the previous spot on this list. And at number 5, we have the Rubyshell Krolusk. This mount can simply be bought from a vendor near the Warfront table for 200 Horde surface medals. There is also an Alliance version called the Azuracell Krolusk, which is obtained basically the same way, just from the Alliance version of the vendor. Now, getting 200 service medals can sound like a daunting task, since you only get 5 of them for completing an invasion, and you only get 1 for completing a world quest or a daily associated to a Warfront zone. However, actually completing a Warfront will give you 15 the first time you do them on normal, and then the Battle for Darkshore on Heroic gives you 50. That's the one you want to aim for, once a week, assuming your faction has access to Darkshore. You can easily find a group that's running it for the weekly in order to get a quick 50 service medals, which will contribute to 25% of the amount you need in order to get the mount. If you just do the 1 Warfront on Heroic each time it's available, you'll be able to get it after 4 times. You can also get the 15 in addition to the 50, so it's actually 65 each time, but it will still take 4 times before you get the amount needed for the 200. Assuming you did nothing else. You can also do the invasions every time they come up for an additional 5. That can sometimes also allow you to get reputation Paragon boxes for your faction, which will give you an additional 20, as well as around 4,000 gold. And since right before Shadowlands there's a 100% rep buff, as of making this video, now would be a really good time to grind this out. If you're watching this in the future, it might be a little bit harder to find groups for the Horde service medals, but you still can do the invasions every day and slowly get the amount of service medals you need. There are also other mounts you can obtain with the service medals, but they cost a lot more, so they don't actually make this video, as 200 is not that hard to get, and easily allows that mount to make a spot on this list of easiest mounts to get. And at number 4, we have the 3 Cloud Serpents from the Order of the Cloud Serpent rep in Mists of Pandaria. Grinding this rep to Exalted will allow you to purchase 3 mounts that are all under 1,000 gold each, and just like with the Sons of Hodir rep, this grind has recently been made a lot easier with the changes to time walking. Now, Mists of Pandaria rep has a little bit of a leg up on some of the Wrath of the Lich King reps, since as soon as you hit Revered with the faction, you're able to buy an item called the Grand Commendation of the Order of the Cloud Serpent, which gives you a 100% bonus to all of your rep with the Order of the Cloud Serpent, which extends to all characters on your account. This was supposed to be a way to have a catch-up mechanic for all of your alts in Mists of Pandaria, since you needed to unlock the rep vendors in order to spend your badge currency. Although you're able to unlock this 100% rep bonus before you hit Exalted, which kind of makes getting to Exalted a lot easier as it allows you to get a lot more rep during one of the longest grinds in the reputation. So all you do is the intro quest in order to unlock the faction, which is a lot less than the ones needed to unlock the Sons of Hodir. Then there'll just be a whole bunch of daily quests you can do that will give you rep. You can completely ignore the daily quests if you just use the time walking currency to buy the item that gives you rep for the Order of the Cloud Serpent. You can also go around and farm Quivering Firestorm eggs in order to turn those in for rep, or you can just do the dailies every day and unlock it the old-fashioned way, which only takes a couple of weeks. Much shorter if you start doing the dailies during Mists of Pandaria Time Walking Week, which will increase reputation gains by an additional 50%. In fact, it's entirely possible to start the rep grind and then complete it all within the Mists of Pandaria Time Walking Week, due to the additional rep and the tokens you can buy with time walking currency, which increase your rep further. And at number 3, we have Garn Nighthowl. This is a mount which has a 100% drop chance from a rare in Warlords of Draenor named Nak Karash, who's at this location on the map in Frostfire Ridge and has about a 20 to 40 minute respawn timer. Now, what makes this mount particularly easy to obtain is 1, it has a 100% drop chance, 2, it has a short respawn timer for a rare that drops a mount, and 3, the mount is not bind on pickup. So you can actually just buy it off the auction house for pretty cheap, since it's so easy to get. As of making this video, the prices for this mount go around 1,000 gold, give or take, where some of them going up to 5,000 gold on one of the servers I play on, which is still pretty cheap. Although your mileage and trying to get this mount the old-fashioned way may vary. On one of my servers, I went to the spawn location and was being camped by a couple of other people. Then I hopped onto another one of my servers and there was no one there, and the NPC was available as soon as I just got to the location. And I was able to get the kill and grab the mount even though I already had it, since I can just sell on the auction house. Out of all of the rare mobs in Draenor that drop mounts, Garn Nighthowl is the easiest one to obtain, especially since it can be bought and sold on the auction house for so cheap. And at number 2, we have the Alabaster Hyena, as well as 5 other mounts you can obtain for getting exalted reputations with your 3 main BFA reputation hubs. In both Zandalar and Koltaras, there is a reputation associated to all 3 of the zones, and if you simply get those reputations to Exalted, there are 2 mounts available from the zone's quartermasters, for 10,000 gold and 72,000 gold respectively after faction discounts. So the 72,000 gold mounts are kind of pricey, although each of these vendors also has a much cheaper 10,000 gold mount, which is a lot more affordable to people who aren't just completely terrible at making gold. Remember, you can get 4,000 gold from a Paragon box, which is obtained after getting Exalted rep with the reputations in BFA zones. And if you have the ability to gain those Paragon boxes, that means you already have the rep needed in order to buy these mounts in the first place. It is super easy to get these mounts unlocked by simply doing world quests or emissaries when they're available in the zone. As of making this video, there is a 100% rep buff going on that makes this almost trivial. All of my max level alts are exalted with all of the base factions, and it really did not take very much to do so. And at number 1, we have the Mechanocat X-995. This is a mount that holds a distinction where you can actually dye it to 8 different colors, and it's obtainable rather easily in Mechagon. All you have to do is unlock the ability to create Mechagon tinkering. Then you just have to go to an NPC known as Pascal K1N6 to buy a schematic for 500 gold. That will teach your robot how to create the Mechanocat laser pointer, which ultimately allows you to learn how to use this mount. The hardest part of all this would just be grinding out the materials needed to create the mount, which are honestly not that bad. When I was researching this video, I had completely missed the schematic required in order to make this mount, And as soon as I bought the schematic, I already had the materials in my bank to make it without having to farm anything else out, despite the fact that I hadn't done anything on Mechagon in months. So if I had the materials just lying around in my bank, then you might probably have it too if you missed it like I did. However, assuming you're watching this in the future and you're starting from zero, or you just completely didn't do Mechagon for one reason or another, the materials can be gathered by just killing rares on the island, doing daily quests, including the daily world quest, and farming up 2,000 spare parts, so that you can combine them into the 8 spare crates you need. Farming the spare parts might be the most difficult thing to do from scratch, in which case you can just go to this zone here on the map and just kill all the NPCs in this little area, since it's one of the best spots to farm spare parts. This is definitely a mount you can probably grind out in a day, or if you might already had the materials for it and you just played BFA normally, you can probably go grab it in 5 minutes like I did as soon as I found out about it. Alright, and that's the list. Now, there are a ton of mounts in the games, so if you know of any other really easy mounts to obtain that I didn't list in this video or the previous 2 other ones, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments, so that I can make future videos just like this one. This video was edited by the Flying Buttress, who makes excellent World of Warcraft lore videos that I would highly recommend you watch while grinding out some of these mounts. Links to his video in the description and the video cards right now.